Okay, so just a little short video to remind you about equivalent fractions. Now, equivalent means equal or the same. So what we're doing is we're writing the same amount or the same fraction in a different way. And I always go back to pizzas. So if we have, for example, 3 pizzas, the pizzas are the same size. Okay, maybe it's a 12-inch pizza. A pizza that has a diameter the same size as a school ruler. Okay, so 30 centimeters in diameter. Imagine the pizza. Now, we can share the pizza in different ways. So we can divide it into fractions in different ways. Imagine I divide the first one into quarters, the second one into eighths, and the third one into halves. Okay? Now, very easily, I can then say, okay, well, 1/4 is equal to 2/8. Okay? Now, if you eat 1/4 of this pizza or 2/8 of this pizza, you will be eating the same amount. Okay? Now, instead of halves, I'll divide this into 16ths. Okay? Because then, or into 12. I'll divide it into 12. A bit harder to divide into 12. Just to illustrate the point. Okay, so that pizza is divided into 12. And if I colour a quarter of the pizza again, I can see that 1/4 of the pizza here is 1, 2, 3 twelfths. Okay? So no matter whether you eat 1/4 of this pizza, or 2/8 of this pizza, or 3/12 of this pizza, you will be eating the same amount. Okay? That means 1/4 is the same as, remember the equal sign means the same. 1/4 is the same as 2/8, is the same as 3/12. Okay? Now, what if we don't have a diagram to help us or a fraction wall to help us? Well, you can always make one. Okay, you can always draw your diagram accurately or look at a fraction wall. But we also can just do it using numbers. Okay? So if I write down a fraction 2/3 and I want to write an equivalent fraction to 2/3, okay, I can multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number. Okay, so for example, if I multiply them by 2, you don't need to draw these lines, I'm just showing you what I'm doing. So 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 2 is 6. So 2/3 is the exact same as 4/6. Okay, let's try again. We'll multiply 4/6 by 2, or we'll multiply by 3 this time, just to do something different. Okay, so 4 times 3 is 12, 6 times 3 is 18. So here we have another equivalent fraction. Okay, 12/18 is the exact same as 4/6, is the exact same as 2/3. Let me see, I'm going to pick 4/5. It's the exact same. So you think in your head now, think of a number that you're going to multiply the top and the bottom by. Can you think of a number? Okay, so think in your head what the equivalent fraction would be. Now, I don't know what number you picked. I'm going to pick 5, okay? So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 5. 4 5s are 20, 5 5s are 25. Okay, so 4/5 is the exact same as 20 over 25. Maybe you thought it's the exact same as 8/10. It's the exact same as, maybe you multiply it by 10, as 40 over 50. Okay, so that's the general idea of equivalent fractions. Now, often we might be asked to simplify a fraction. So we use our knowledge of equivalent fractions to help us simplify. Okay, so I'm going to change this and I'm going to say simplify. Now, when we simplify fractions, we write an equivalent fraction but with smaller numbers. So a smaller numerator and a smaller denominator. Remember, the numerator is on the top and the denominator is on the bottom. So if I something like 16 over 20, I look for a number that divides into both 16 and 20. Okay? So I think of the biggest number possible that divides into 16 and 20. Last week we spoke about factors. What I'm looking for is the largest factor of 16 that is also a factor of 20. Okay, now I know in my head that the largest one is 4. So I can divide the top and the bottom by 4. Okay, 16 divided by 4 is 4. 20 divided by 4 is 5. So 16 over 20, if I simplify that, I get 4/5. Okay, maybe you didn't spot that the largest common factor is 4. Okay, so you can do it dividing by 2 each time. Okay, so I'll divide by 2, the numerator and the denominator by 2. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 20 divided by 2 is 10. But then I spot, oh look, they're both even numbers. So I can divide by 2 again. Okay, anytime you have an even number on the top and an even number on the bottom, you can at least divide by 2. So I'll divide by 2 again. Remember, you don't need to write this. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So 16/20, simplified, as far as it can be simplified, is 4/5. Okay, I'll leave that there for a minute. Now, the way it would look if you were doing it, if you just do it in your head, something like this. Okay, and like I said, if you spotted that you could divide by 4 straight away, you don't need that middle step. Okay, now we have some fractions simplified. Okay, in your book you have questions then like this. 3 something is equal to 6 over 8. So what you do to find the equivalent fractions is you look for the relationship between the numerators. Here it's the numerators because I have 2 numerators. If I had the 2 denominators, I'd look for the relationship between the denominators. So I say, what do I need to do to 3? I'm thinking multiplication or division. What do I need to do to 3 to get to 6? That's right, I need to multiply by 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. That means down the bottom, I'm multiplying some number by 2 to get 8. You can think of it as 8 divided by 2 is, what number would you get there? That's right, you get 4, okay? Because 3 times 2 is 6, 4 times 2 is 8. So we're making sure that we follow the pattern. Okay, I'll do one more. Let me see, 2/3 equals to something over 12, okay? This time, it's the denominators that I have, both of them. So I look to see the relationship. I'm looking to see the relationship whether it's multiplying or dividing. Okay, so 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, so whatever I do to the bottom, I also do to the top. Oh, by 4. So now 2 times 4 is 8. So 2/3 is the exact same as 8/12. They are my equivalent fractions. Okay, now that's what you do in part A. In part B, it says, what fraction of your day do you spend at each of these activities? Now, we have 24 hours in a day. Okay, so your denominator will be 24. And then it says, what fraction of your day do you spend at each of these activities? For example, doing maths. Now, it's easier to use rounded numbers, so use hours. Okay, so let's say you do 1 hour a day of maths, or maybe you do 2 hours a day of maths, but I'll put down 1. So your answer there would be 1 over 24. That's your fraction. If it was 2 hours out of your full 24 hours in a day, well then you'd have 2 over 24 and you could simplify it. Okay, so always try and simplify your answer. For example, if you put down that you spend 2 hours a day at maths, you could then divide the numerator and the denominator by 2 and you get 1/12. Okay, so have a go at part B.